Now we come to the portion of the service before we do our Bible study that we talk about some end times news and prophecy update as we do each week. And this is update number 56. And we want to welcome our online audience and subscribers around the world. Thank you for joining with us and partnering with us. This last week and every week it's getting more exciting when you look at Bible prophecy and the events of the world. And it's going to be a full escalation, especially as we head into September. There's always going to be ongoing issues in dealing with the Middle East and, of course, Iran. You're going to see more of the development of the countries and the alliances of Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38, 39, Isaiah 17 and 19, dealing with Egypt and also Damascus and Syria and the disaster that's going on there. But as we continue to see the escalation of what's going on in Iran, the propaganda, the rhetoric, their whole agenda, they've never been shy about it. And here's what they've been doing, and just so that way everyone can participate. They've developed a video game that teaches military strikes on Israel. So this came out of the Free Beacon website the other week, and they released this anti-Zionist video game called Missile Strike, in which players are taught how to launch these missiles to attack Israel. And the video game became widely released by a group called the Far News Agency, which is kind of part of the closely aligned with the military apparatus. So it goes on people's cell phones so they can play this wonderful game of getting the Iranian people and whoever wants to download it how to eliminate Israel. And so it came on the heels of several real-life war drills that was going on the other week with Russia, some of the naval forces, and the announcement of the Islamic Republic gearing to launch live missile drills despite international agreements bearing such action. And then they also came out this last week on Tuesday, out of the Blaze, gave this particular report about the new Iranian video images, or imagines the Muslim invasion of Jerusalem. And specifically in the headline there talks about how Israel must be obliterated. So within this, you have these alliances with the Hezbollah and Hamas and, of course, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, how they're trying to approach Jerusalem. So they show this guy getting ready and getting all the battle gear and the head, bands and shoes and weapons, and the soldiers are approaching Jerusalem. You see the Dome of the Rock there, and then it starts to pan out, and you see the multitudes of other people coming in to that whole thing. So that's the whole rhetoric. But on the end of the slide shows that Israel must be obliterated, or literally erased from the annals of history. The youth will definitely see that day when it comes. So not only do they continue to say death to Israel, death to America, but now they're putting these videos out there. They're putting these video games to continue to propagate their agenda and to attack Israel. Continue on with Iran and dealing with the Iran deal. You have the UN now, out of the Jerusalem Post on Wednesday, the International Atomic Agency will allow Iran, as we mentioned, they're probably going to start doing their own inspections instead of having the international inspections, and that's exactly what the UN is allowing to happen. So they're open to doing their own experts to look at their equipment and conduct their own investigations. So it's really not going to happen. And then on Thursday, out of the Times of Israel, had this report about the White House are comfortable with this Iran self-inspecting the nuclear sites. So what's the whole purpose of having a deal that would have, boundaries and checks and balances and, basically Iran gets away with whatever they want. And they get the help of the fundage of billions and billions of dollars of other countries around the world, and namely, primarily the United States, giving them $100 billion to help them build their nuclear bomb to speed up the process. And they can just get away and do whatever they want. And they're okay with this type of rhetoric and how they want to continue to wipe Israel off the face of the map. And most likely they'll have a nuclear bomb ready to attack America as well. But yet it's a good deal according to the president. Going on to an economic issue, and this is where we're going to kind of focus on primarily on this particular update. Out of the Bloomberg report, said the U.S. creditor trader sends warning signals to the rest of the world market. So the credit traders have this uncanny knack for sounding the alarm bells when before the stocks realize that there's a problem. And as you know, that there's been more and more issues going on with the stock market. Investors yanked $1.1 billion from the U.S. investment-grade bond funds last week, the largest withdrawal since 2013, according to the data that was compiled. The credit is a warning sign or signal that everyone's been looking for. And so this is something that's been trending for a number of years, and they're saying here's a major issue, red flag going on. You even see what the crash that happened in Hong Kong not too long ago. So you're seeing just the messed up systems that are going on in the markets around the world. In fact, another report on the Economic Collapse blog website, which keeps a good pulse on what's going on, and they said that they've already witnessed the first 1,300 points of the stock market crash. So the Dow closed 500 points the other day, so it's just going to continue to slide. The snowball effect is going to get worse and worse. Another report came up out of the Telegraph website that's entitled that the central banks lose control, doomsday clock for global market crash strikes 1 minute to midnight. We talked about the China's currency devaluation last week, signals the end time or end-game leaving equity markets free to collapse under the weight of the impossible expectations. So when the bank crisis crippled the global market several years ago, the central bankers stepped in as lenders as the last resort. That's the whole bailout type of stuff that happened. And so the private sector loans were moved to the public sector balance sheets, and the vast money printing gave the global economy room to heal. And that's kind of what they're doing. But it creates this big bubble. That bubble is going to burst. The time is running out. From China to Brazil, the central banks have lost control at the same time. The global economy is coming to a grinding halt. We saw what was taking place in Greece. Now the prime minister has resigned so someone else can take care of the problem, but it's just a nightmare in the making. And so it's only a matter of time before the stock markets around the globe are going to collapse under the weight of their lofty expectations and the record valuations. Within this particular article, there's 8 main points that was brought up within it. I'm just going to give you the headlines on those. Again, we talked about the China's slowing down of their economy, and there's a commodity collapse, the resource sector crisis, credit crisis. There's a domino effect that's beginning. So China is going to go back into reverse. The emerging markets that are consumed so many of our products are crippled by the currency devaluation. The framed BRICS, as we mentioned, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, in whom the West supposed to pass on the torch to economic growth. Again, these things are all in disarray as well. The credit market rollover, the interest rate shock, the bull market is on the third largest on record. A bull market, again, it's a reference referred to the stock market, but can be applied to anything such as trade or bonds, currencies, and commodities. And then, of course, the overvalued U.S. market. So there's going to be another economic collapse. We know that, and it's one way that we can see how the one world government will say, hey, we're going to get rid of all the different currencies. We're going to have a one world currency. In fact, we're just going to do away with the money system, and we've seen a lot of the countries around Europe going to a cashless society, and we're starting to see more of that taking place. And then lastly, here in Victoria, the Labour government. And this is where you start to see more of the decline of a nation. Not only is the gay marriage bill going to be voted on in the next election, which is any time now, but the article came out of The Age saying that the religious instruction are scrapped from curriculum. And it is a real blessing having religious education within the school system. Now they're trying to scrap it from the normal education system. You can do it before school, after school, or lunchtime. And of course, you know how well those will be turned out, And And partly is that they want to make room for world histories, cultures, faiths, and ethics. The classes that address domestic violence, as we know, Victoria and specifically the city of Casey has the highest domestic violence in Australia. To have more respectful relationship has also become a compulsory from years prep through years 10, starting in 2016. The Prevention Family Violence Minister said that the focus on respectful relationships in schools would help address the gender stereotypes and the discrimination. So again, it's to embrace homosexuality, transgenderism issues, and the respectful relationship education is key to combating prejudice and preventing violence. We're including it in the curriculum so that every Victorian school teaches students these important skills and content. But what better content and teaching than to get to love one another, pray for one another, serve one another, be hospitable to one another as the Bible teaches, right? So that's what you're going to get, and from the Bible and the CRE teaching. But they want to eliminate that, and so you're going to start to see a continued decline of a nation. Many years ago, probably 30 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, probably 40 years ago, would date myself on that one. But when they took God out of the schools in America, they took prayer out, they took the Ten Commandments out, and the Bible out. And you saw the statistics just collapse of pregnancies, drug abuse, the family just in disarray. So same thing what we're going to see happening here, more and more going toward that direction. And one final thing as we close out, I do want to take a moment to exhort each and every one of us here today and those that are listening online to be prepared. Okay? Not to panic, not to be fearful, but be prepared. Be prepared for a collapse. Be prepared for disasters that are going to happen. Have a stockpile of food ready. Not saying, hey, we're going to last for 7 years. Just even a month or so or more than that. Have some food. Have some cash, some medicine. So if there is a financial collapse, if there is a bank system that you can't get anything out, you are prepared, okay? Or some other type of disaster. And as we're heading into September, not to put our lives on hold, keep doing what God's called you to do. Keep get out there, but be prepared. Prepare yourself, prepare your family, prepare your homes for these sort of things. The potential issues is going to escalate. You know, we saw how bad the economic collapse happened several years ago. Imagine that 10 times worse, what's going to happen. Not to put a fearful tone in people's, but just be prepared, be ready. We know the time is coming. It's just going to get worse, you know. But we have our hope and our faith in Jesus Christ. Amen. So may we continue to be watchful. May we continue to be ready and be busy about the Lord's work, telling as many people. Opportunities are like never before. People are looking for answers, and we have the answers. We have the hope in Jesus Christ. Amen? And that concludes today's update.